Hello, you guys, and welcome to Employee Matters with Kim K. This is your girl, Kim, and I am here to talk to you today about how you got fired on your day off. One of the things that I talked about in my first video, can you see my hair? I have this banner. So I've been trying these natural styles, and one day we're going to talk about natural styles in the workplace. That's for another day. But today we're going to talk about how you got fired on your day off. So one of the things I talked about in my introduction video is how I got started with HR consulting. I've been working in HR for almost 15 years now, and I deal more on the compliance and policy side, dealing with employee matters and disciplinary actions and things like that. So today I wanted to talk to you because, sorry, trying to fix myself up. I had a case recently, and it reminded me of this movie Friday, when Smokey asked Craig, "How you get fired on your day off, man?" So today we're going to talk about how you can get fired on your day off, because I don't think employees are aware of some of the policies and things that are outlined in your employee handbooks or in your policies and procedures with your company. And so last week or a couple weeks ago, when I posted my introduction video, I talked about how I got started in HR consulting. There was a friend of mine who had a construction company and had employees, more than 10 employees, and they did not have an employee handbook in existence. And so I created for them for the first time an employee handbook that outlined policies and procedures to guide employees on what their company policies were and what the company expected of them as employees. And what I have realized, and I don't think a lot of employees are aware, that they have what we call standards of conduct or employee code of conduct. In most large organizations have standards of conduct, code of conduct clauses in their employee handbooks, in their company policies. And I think it gets employees in trouble when they don't thoroughly read their employee handbooks. They're not aware of what's in there and how their actions outside of work can potentially affect their employment with that organization. Recently, I've been seeing here, with the increase in usage of social media, where people vent and talk about social issues, they talk about political issues, they talk about all kinds of things on social media. And me personally, I try not to get into banter back and forth about political things, religious things on social media. It's just a recipe for a disaster, especially if you work for a large organization, or even if you don't. Even if you own a company, you still have customers that you have to answer to. Some of you may have board members if you're owners of small companies that you have to answer to. So you have to be really mindful of the things that you post on social media. It's like a gift and a curse. Social media has become. But how do you get fired on your day off? You can get fired on your day off in a couple of ways. So, like I said, a lot of companies have what I call code of conduct or standard of conduct clauses in their policy handbooks and their employee handbooks. And like I said, I don't think employers realize how important it is to have these things outlined in their employee handbook. And then two, I don't think employees understand how important it is to read their company policies and handbooks so that they know, these are some of the things that can affect my employment. Some of my actions outside of work can definitely affect my employment with this company. I think one of the major issues that are arising now is social media, like I said. But some of the other things, I've witnessed so many incidents where employees are fired based on their actions outside of work. Um, One example I can give you is, say I am an attorney and I work for a large company, and I'm this big attorney. I'm the general counsel for this organization, and I'm married, got a couple kids, right? And but I have this mistress on the side, right? So that may be a moral issue, not necessarily a company issue that could potentially get you fired. But say I'm an attorney, a general counsel for this large organization, and I have this mistress. And with mistresses, they want things, right? They want gifts. And me being married, I can't buy them gifts on credit cards because my wife's watching, and she's watching every credit card purchase because she's suspicious already. Or I can't take out large sums of money because she's already suspicious, right? And so what do I do? I got to keep this side chick happy, right? And so I go out. Let's say I go to a tech store, maybe Best Buy, and this mistress, she wants an iPad. Well, the iPad is $1,300, right? So how am I gonna get her? How am I gonna get my mistress's iPad that she wants? What do? I go in with my briefcase. I'm a well dressed attorney, so people wouldn't suspect anything. Um, but what do? I pick up the iPad and I slip it in my briefcase, right? Then I try and walk out of the store. Well, most retail stores, they have what they call asset protection employees. And these employees, I mean, it's like a full department, and especially in retail. You have asset protection um, departments, and they have employees who all they do is walk around stores all day in plain clothes, looking for people who are stealing, watching folks who they think may be, thieves. And so I tap an attorney who's walking out, trying to walk out with the iPad on in their briefcase, and I said, "Hey, you're stealing an iPad. That's against the law, right?" So we put you in handcuffs. Asset protection puts them in handcuffs. I'm this high-powered attorney, puts me in handcuffs and takes me to the back, and they call the police, and got to process a police report, and I'm getting arrested for petty theft, right? All trying to keep this mistress happy, right? But why is that a problem? If I am an attorney at this large Fortune 500 company, I'm the general counsel. Why is that an issue? Well, one, theft is against the law, right? Two, I'm an attorney. It speaks to my ethics, it speaks to my trustworthiness. And two, I'm supposed to be upholding the law. I'm an attorney, but I'm here breaking the law. So that's a direct conflict of of what I'm supposed to be representing as an attorney for this company. So, that will fall under conduct that's not, or conduct that, if the public were made aware of, would not find it pleasurable to know that the attorney is also a thief, right? So I'm probably going to get fired. Same thing for if I'm a banker. I work at a bank, I have access to funds, and I'm arrested for, stealing, I don't know, stealing money, or credit card fraud, stealing a friend's credit card. Well, I have access to funds, I have access to money, I have access to credit card information working at a bank. So it wouldn't be conducive for that bank to keep me as an employee, even though I never stole anything from this bank. But because I have access to funds. I have access to, customer information. Me stealing something outside of company time, on my own time, I went and stole something. It reflects poorly on me. And if customers were to be made aware that this bank had a person who has stolen someone's credit card information or identity, um, as a customer, if I found out this information, I wouldn't want you handling anything that has any of my private information on it. I wouldn't want you handling my funds. So, as an organization, I have to take action to make sure that my customers are safe. Now I don't know if I can trust you, even though you've worked for me for 10 years for this bank. You've never stolen anything. You've never, stolen anyone's identity, credit card information. But because your job functions involved, people's private information, I, as an employer, have to protect my customer. So I can't keep you as a banker with my bank knowing that you have this theft charge pending or been convicted of a theft charge, right? Um, Social media is, like I said, another thing. It falls under code of conduct, standards of conduct. Of course, there's issues with free speech, and everyone has the right to freedom of speech. But employees need to understand, especially in states that are at will states, right to work states. These states don't operate under union guidelines. They don't negotiate with unions or don't have labor contracts with unions and things like that. So you're an at-will employee in states like Texas, where I live. We are a right to work state. So at any time, a company can release you for any reason, as long as it's not unlawful, as long as it's not based on a discriminatory reason, such as race or sex or age or disability, things like that. But say I'm an employee and I work in Texas, and I go on social media. I'm on my Facebook page, and recently we've been having some really tense political conversations about Trump and Biden and things like that, Ukraine, all those types of things, right? Um, so I have this Facebook page, and I'm friends with a bunch of people at work. Guys, that's the biggest mistake you can make. I'm gonna tell you right now, the biggest mistake you can make, especially on social media, is to friend people who you work with. Because I'm gonna tell you, half the time they're not your friends unless you have developed a relationship over several years and you really trust this person. I would definitely not recommend adding coworkers as your friends on social media, because guess what? I don't know if people know this, and the people that I've terminated or fired, I don't even know if they're aware. Their so-called friends on Snapchat and on Facebook are the ones who end up turning them in, right? They're the ones that send us the screenshots of, these racially charged posts that you're making, right? And so that's how we find out. Because in an organization that's large and has 20, 30,000 employees, or a global organization, we don't have time to research everyone's Facebook and Snapchat and I don't know what else, whatever the new social media platforms are, Instagram. So the information is brought to us either from one of your coworkers, one of your friends, right? Or a customer or someone who knows you work with this organization. They will send these things to HR. And that's normally how we find out about these types of posts on social media. And so, say for instance, I'm a teacher and I work in a large urban school district, and the population of students are 95% minority, African American, Hispanic. And I'm on Facebook, and someone posts something about Trump, and I may be a Trump supporter, which is fine. people have the right to support whichever political party they want to support, whichever president, whichever, representative they would like to support. However, say I'm a teacher and, my classroom is 95% African American, Hispanic, Latino, and I'm friends with a couple of other teachers, on Facebook. We just met this year. We're all new teachers, and we've gone out for happy hour a couple of times. So I think they're my friends, right? So I add them as friends on Facebook. But guess what? Some of them are African American, some of them may be Latino. I'm, maybe the new white girl who's teaching at the school, and I'm bantering back and forth on social media about Trump. And, I think Trump is the greatest president, and that's fine. But then I take it a step further, and someone says something, maybe it's an African American person that I don't necessarily like, may be insulting to me as a white woman. And I decide to respond on this public post on Facebook. And I call this lady the N-word, which is a racial slur, right? You can argue semantics. Black people use the word, of course, but there's a different kind of racial undertone when Caucasian people may use the word. And so I'm a teacher, and I have all these African American students and Latino students in my classroom. Guess what? My friend from work, who we've gone to happy hour, but we just met this year. She screenshots that post and she sends it to HR. And she's just offended. She wants to remain anonymous, right? Because she doesn't want you to know that she's the one that reported you, but she wants to make it known, hey, this person may not be the best fit to teach our students who are African American, Latino, and I don't feel comfortable with this person being a teacher. Say they send it, I'm a teacher and I'm this person's friend. I'm Susie's friend, white Susie, and I send this post to a couple parents that I'm friends with. Then the parents start complaining. There's rumbling from parents. So, the African American parents are livid. They don't want Susie teaching their kids because they think she's racist, right? And based off the post, most people may agree that she may be racist. Then I tell a couple of my Latino, parent friends, and they're offended, even though the racial slur wasn't necessarily about them. But if you have these racist feelings toward or are dropping racial slurs about African American people, maybe you're saying the same thing about Latino students. So I don't want you teaching my students either, because I feel like you're a racist, right? And so it starts blowing up, and parents are complaining. And next thing you know, there's no students who want to be in this, the parents don't want their students in this person's class. What do we do with you? When you're living in this affluent neighborhood with these affluent parents who may have connections and things like that, you don't want to end up on the news. You don't want the organization to think that you support this type of behavior, this type of use of language, racial language, negative racial slurs. And so as an organization, you have to make that decision. We call it, some people refer to it as diminished capacity, meaning that because of your actions as an employee outside of work, even though it's outside of work, has a negative impact on the work that you do, because you interact with minority students and parents on a daily basis. I can't have you standing in front of my students. I can't present you as a teacher to parents, because now it's out there that you post racial slurs on Facebook, right? And so we call it diminished capacity. I can no longer have you standing in front of my African American and Latino students or parents. So guess what? I got to get rid of you. You have to go. I mean, you have to go, right? And so we talking about how you get fired on your day off. That's how you get fired on your day off, right? Those are just a couple of examples. I can give you some more, but I wanted to just post this short video about that because I don't think employees are aware that your actions outside of work can affect your employment with an organization. And some people may think, well, I'm an entrepreneur and I don't work for anybody. However, you do have, if you are an entrepreneur, you do have someone to answer to, whether it be customers, things like that, a board of directors possibly. So your actions very well may affect your employment. It could affect your business. It could affect your income with your business. So be mindful of that when you're making decisions outside of work, when you're interacting on social media. That's the new big thing is social media. Also, people have these camera phones, guys, and time and time again, we get videos of employees engaging in negative behavior that could cause diminished capacity. It could affect how the public perceives you as an employee of our organization. So guess what? I can't have you affecting my bottom line, right? If I'm a private corporation and your actions get out in the media, they may think our organization supports this behavior, or so, we have to make some decisions about your employment because it's not going to affect our money, right? So, just be mindful of that. Employers, I want you to also be mindful of the importance of having these types of policies in your employee handbook or in your company policy. It helps protect you as well. It helps protect your business so that you have recourse when employees may do things outside of work that could affect how your customers view you as a company, as an organization, and could affect your profit margin should this information get out and people become aware that you have this employee who's exhibited such behavior or negative behavior. Having this clause in your company policy or employee handbook can give you recourse for taking action against an employee. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. We're just going to do short videos on various employee matters because employees matter. They matter to our businesses and they matter as people. I want organizations to be aware, especially small, mid-sized organizations who are just getting started, how important it is to manage employees, not just from a business standpoint, but also from a standpoint of, growing your business. You want to have good employees that work for you. You want your employees to be treated fairly and feel like they're treated fairly and feel like they know what your expectations of them are as an organization. And so, and as employees of the organization. So, my videos are always going to be unbiased. I'm going to provide a perspective from the employer as well as the employee. I also want employees to be mindful of what's in your employee handbook so that you are aware of the standards that your organization has set forth for you as an employee and govern yourselves accordingly. So I'm going to wrap it up. It's getting late here and I'm hungry. So you all make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check back weekly. We're just going to post, like I said, these short videos. Also, be sure to visit my website, www.k2hrsolutions.com, if you would like a consult for our small businesses. Let us help you get that employee handbook in place. Let us help you develop your company policies and mission, and so that you have so that you as a company, as a small business, mid-sized business that's growing, you have outlined who you are as a company, what you expect from your employees, and that you cover yourselves as employers. And also that employees, you cover yourselves as employees. So thank you for tuning in to Employee Matters with Kim K. I am Kim K. So check me out next week and we'll have a new video for you. Have a good night.